This podcast has been brought to you by Costa Rica, Pura Vida. I probably mispronounced that, but it's okay.
Steve, what kind of tea do you have today? Tell everybody what tea you have.
I got a good little 2 bags of Country Peach Passion by Celestial Seasonings. It's got some hibiscus in it, rose hips is it called, or is it rosebud? I think it's rose hips.
Steve, you might as well just eat a leaf.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
Eat
a leaf. All right, see right there. See, that's content right there, ladies and gentlemen.
We're starting strong.
All right, guys.
But does it, when you drink it though, do you taste like roses? Does it taste like
it's peach. So like you taste the peach, but like it has a little bit of hibiscus in it. It's got some hawthorn in it. Mm-hmm. Orange. There's a little bit of orange peel in it. But it's like a hibiscus blend. So it's like a peach hibiscus, if you can imagine that. The hibiscus, a little bit tardy, so it's tardy and fruity. Mm-hmm. With this one, it gets rid of the tart. It's fruity and peachy.
Okay, that sounds really good. It kind of reminds me. There's like this Orlando brewing company that I went to years and years back when I was with one of the groups there at UCF. And they were doing like little samples of different beers, and one of the beers that they had there was like infused with like rose hips. I took like a little sample of it, and I hate to say, but it tasted like roses. And not that I've ever eaten roses before, but it literally tasted like I was just chomping on a flower.
Yeah, roses and beer just don't go together either. Like, could you imagine here's having a beer with like one of those
I was chomping on a plant, literally.
Might as well just put a rose in.
I was like, okay, try that. Good. Next, I'll sample the next one. Yeah, that definitely wasn't my favorite.
Well, guys, welcome back to the Common Ground Stories podcast. I'm your host, Nicholas Leaf, and today we have 2 of my great friends here. We have Felix Rosado and Steve. Thanks for joining me tonight, guys. Oh my goodness, so great seeing you guys again. Steve, it's been a minute. We met in high school, didn't we?
We did meet in high school.
Now, I remember for me, so you guys were already there in high school. So I was kind of the outsider coming in.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, who's this guy?
Not with that attitude.
So I don't know if you guys knew this. So before Eastridge, I went to I was in Winter Park. Actually, I was in Orlando, but I wanted to go to Winter Park High School. So I did. I went there for just the first 2 weeks of high school. Wasn't a music program, nothing like that. I had just come back from West Virginia that summer, so missed all that stuff. And then 2 weeks in, I was with my mom and my brother in Winter Park, and it didn't go too well. My dad came over. He had just some stuff was blown over. He was kind of redoing his whole life, and he came over to where my mom and I were living. My brother picked us up in Winter Park, and we went back to Claremont. And then from there, it was like, am I going to go to South Lake High School, or am I going to go to Eastridge High School? Well, I found out we were going to go to Eastridge. Right? I didn't really know too much about Eastridge. Kind of looked like a prison, right? Because you see, I was 15, so it was prison. I knew about South Lake. I lived back in the day. I lived close to that. I lived in Mineola, which was not too far from South Lake. Yeah. Anyways, long story short, that fall semester, 2007, I wasn't in the band, and then I meet Mr. Hart at a parade. I think it was the first time I meet him, and then he invites me to come sit down in his office, and I think that's where you saw me in his office, or the first time.
Yeah, interesting. So that time that I saw you, because I just saw you playing in the office. You were playing the saxophone in his office. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I think that was the same day I remember meeting or seeing you for the first time, because it was I think our first jazz band rehearsal after school. It was still during marching season. Yeah. And I just remember walking in, so excited to play jazz, and I just see you press, and who's this Tilda Swinton over here? Who's this guy?
Who's your schmuck? I feel it decides me up. I can kind of tell, you're very nice, but I can kind of tell, oh crap, who is this guy coming? Who's this guy kind of trying to knock me off?
Well, it's whenever it came to anybody, and I think I've told you this before, but it's I very much was. I had an immense amount of respect for the position that I was put in, and I was going to defend that with everything that I possibly could. So whenever I see him, okay, who's a new kid? How good is he? Is there a chance that he's gonna blow me off my picture or something? Honestly, those are all the thoughts that are going through my mind.
I can kind of see that too. I instantly knew that you were somebody huge. I'm like, wow, this kid is he's special, and I'm like, I want to be this kid's friend. Like I didn't even know you. I'm like, I want to be Felix's friend. Like I instantly could tell. Like you had leadership. You were personable, and I know you may not think about that, but that's what I wanted. I wanted to be a friend.
Man, who didn't want to be Felix's friend?
Exactly.
Keep going.
I'm serious, but that's how you were in high school. You were nice too. You weren't a jerk to me. You introduced yourself to me. We were all trying out for jazz bands, so we all had to kind of like, we all kind of had to like be tough. But you were nice, and Steve was nice too. I wasn't worried about Steve though. I was not as far as like you were the guy to come after, right? You had everything. You were the section leader. You were the you were the guy back
Section
then.
leader, first chair.
Yeah, first chair, jazz band leader, the whole 9 yards. But you were a nice guy. There were some other people that weren't so nice. And you just were charismatic.
There were some people that weren't so nice.
So anyways, obviously the jazz, he already kind of knew who he wanted in the jazz band that year. And so the section was set. And I was like the last guy out kind of. But I remember I got to play in the concert. We played full count. We played, I forget.
In the Christmas mood.
That was always fun.
But I remember when we played full count, so I was playing baritone sax.
Yeah.
When those curtains opened, when we played full count.
I remember that.
My goodness, that was the best musical experience I had up to that date, bro. That band was swinging, man. That band was swinging. Full count was another whole thing. That was powerful. That was a powerful,
Jack
fun
Hart
experience.
knew how to run a jazz
He
band.
really did.
It's just like he just the passion he had with like running the rehearsals, like just how giddy he would get.
Yeah.
Like it's just like
and he knew a thing or two about like showmanship as well, and how to like really just like hype everybody up and just like give it like the most awesome like experience possible for everybody.
I would say that looking back on it, and Steve can say something about this, the jazz band back in that day was better than a lot of college bands like UCF Jazz Band 2. They were better than that. I mean, this band was swinging, had discipline, had the sound, had all 9 yards.
You think so?
I was in Jazz Band 2 at UCF, and they were good, but they weren't like. They could have been so much better. Let's just put it like that. They were lazy. We were not lazy. We were hungry.
Do you feel like they lacked enthusiasm?
They did, because it was kind of like a fun thing to do. And the director was a nice guy, but he was like so laid back. You could mess up, and no big deal.
And the jazz program, if I remember, because our freshman year was 2007.
In high school.
2007. That was when the jazz program at UCF really was developed. Was I believe like around 2005 or 2006.
Yeah, that's when it started really.
There wasn't really there wasn't like a jazz studies emphasized program at UCF at the time, I believe. Or it was, but it had just started. 2005 or 2006. I believe it was 2006 was like the first year where UCF had an official jazz studies track for their music majors. So, it was still a very developing, program there. And, over time, they skyrocketed.
Yeah,
they're
by the time we got there.
Yeah. Albums now, Flying Horse Big Band. But when we were in school, I remember it was Terry Danielson that came over.
Exactly.
It might have been our senior year, but I think he was the one that invited us for the UCF Jazz Band Festival to perform.
Right. I think that was the year after you graduated.
It was the year after you graduated.
They invited us to the UCF Jazz Band Jazz Festival.
Yeah.
And we performed on stage. It wasn't like a whole big thing, but we performed. Jeff Rupert was there, the leader of Jazz Band Studies. And that was a good experience because we had both gotten UCF, so they were about to be like some of our teachers. Now I didn't have him in any classes, but to have that exposure was really good, and him to critique the band and whatnot. I'm curious, like what was your kind of both of you? You guys are real good, but like what was your thought process? Like was it like was that the end all be all? Like I want to do this and this is it for me. Like I want to be good. I just want to be the best. Or was there like other motivation? Like what was going through your mind? Like what's the next step here?
Would it be in regards to like the jazz band at Eastridge itself?
Yeah, just in general, like music. Like what was your like? I kind of had the idea of like I want to kind of do this and pursue like a career out of it, and to be the best I can, and kind of like that. But I don't know, like what was your perspective?
I mean, I knew that I was not going to be pursuing it after. Like I knew for a fact. I'm like, there's no way. I'm like, I don't even know if I'm going to be joining a band, like just like recreationally. Myself, like I knew that was pretty much going to be it for me. I don't know. I mean, I guess the reason why I kind of continued to do what I was doing though was precisely why I just got started to begin with. I mean, I started playing saxophone when I was in 4th grade. It's something that I came to love. Like the more and more I learned, the better and better I got. And I think too, I've always just enjoyed creating music for its own sake. Even if I'm just like messing around on the keyboard or playing some other random instrument, even if it's like a recorder or something like that.
Yeah.
I've always loved just like creating music for its own sake. So.
Even if there's drama between you and other members of the band,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, so in the band program, right, there's a lot of drama. I know some of us had drama more than others. I don't know.
None of us had any drama.
Yeah, what are you talking
what
about?
drama
We were all
do you
bestest of friends.
Yeah, what is this drama you speak of?
Yeah.
I mean, like, from your perspective, I remember, you know, the way that you can kind of recap, like, the way that Mr. Hart kind of threw you into a leadership position in high school.
So we're really going there? All right.
Why not, right? I mean, you know, that's how we kind of all we all kind of had that, we all kind of had a leadership position, but we all have different stories.
Okay, so,
With that.
I mean, I guess, like, for context, you know, we're talking right now about a situation where underclassmen, someone who does not have, I guess, like, seniority as far as, like, years put into the band. We're talking about someone who has lack of seniority, but who has been entrusted with a leadership position amongst those who have the seniority and experience, but not necessarily have been entrusted the same amount of responsibility.
Sure.
So that's what we're talking about.
Right.
And yeah, that came with all the fun problems that you can imagine it could possibly come along with. Because like immediately you're put in a position where you feel like you have to prove yourself, even though it's like, well, first of all, not that I didn't want it, but it's not something that I necessarily asked for. It's just something that I.
Right, well, remember we said, like, Mr. Hart said one day, hey, Felix.
It's
you want
something
to
that I
be-
assumed one day would be given to me, but I wasn't expecting it my sophomore year. I wasn't expecting as a sophomore to be, you know, a section leader of like, you know, section with like plenty of juniors, plenty of seniors who they thought they were like right there next in line.
Yeah.
You know, so that was definitely a challenge to try to balance that, have respect for the seniority, have it come into play, and be of my and the section's benefit where I can make it useful, but then at the same time having a vision for basically the team of that section. You know, looking at it like a team is like, okay, well, what's going to be best for the team? If I have this person work with this person work with that person, I can make use of their seniority and still respect their seniority and have them in positions that are important and useful while still maintaining my personal vision for the section.
While also navigating the drama.
While navigating the drama.
Because remember, it wasn't just like it was a preordained thing, like, hey, Felix is going to be the section leader, you know, it wasn't like it announced. It was just like, Felix, go on up to
It was
your
literally like,
section.
hey, Felix, take your section outside and have them warm up on, you know, scales. I'm just like,
Just like that.
what?
In front of just a section.
Yeah, like, yeah, that's
Out of nowhere.
That's literally how it was. I had no idea.
And I'm sure, like,
All the glares from the seniors.
they were kind of jealous, I think. From what I understood, from what I saw.
Yeah, I mean, how could you not be?
Yeah.
That's the thing is, like, I'm trying to put myself in that position where imagine, you know, you've been going to the school, this is your fourth year, you're a senior. I mean, imagine.
And they're probably expecting to be the section leader at that point.
Yeah,
they've been built up. They're like, it's my time to shine. And then all of a sudden,
A sophomore comes in. But the point is, right, I think that's a testament to, like, even early on, Felix, the type of leadership you have, the leadership skills you possess. You cannot deny you have those.
yeah, you had charisma.
Yeah, charisma, but leader. Even now today, bro, you teach me a lot just in different leadership things, maybe subtly. You have it. Some people have it in life. Some people are natural born leaders, and I think you are one.
Well, I really appreciate the kind words. It's very, very kind of you to say. You know, at the end of the day, you know, what was just guiding me is just wanting to be the best that I could possibly be in something that I enjoyed.
Right, but like, for instance, right, I was good at saxophone to some extent. You were not only good at saxophone, but you had other leadership qualities that set you apart from anybody. At the end of the day, I was very good at, you know, by my senior year, our senior year, Steve, you know, I was pretty good at saxophone, but I wasn't as refined as a leader as you were. That's for certain. I wasn't as charismatic, probably not as liked, you know. I don't know, Steve, what do you think about that?
Oh man. So there was a definite difference. It's just like, I mean, as I just said a moment ago, like you had the charisma to like kind of like pull like the people in the section in. Like people are like, I'm listening to this guy. You know, no offense, you didn't have the charisma that Felix had. Like you wanted you wanted to have the charisma, but you had to work for it a little bit. I think once you worked for it, people started respecting a little bit more. Because I was the same way. Like I did. You guys remember? I was that dorky kid that stretched out like Laffy Taffy freshman.
Nobody can take me seriously.
Yeah,
I like this kid. Like, don't get it wrong. Like, it's all I didn't like, but I was like, how can you take this kid seriously? He was just too you were too easy go lucky.
And then when I would get mad, I'd be like screaming. Everybody's like, good one, Steve. I was like, I'm being serious. There's steam coming in my ears at that point. Like my face is like tomato red. And I'm like,
Yeah, you were a lot shorter back then.
Yeah.
Now you're 6'5", but back then you were 5'5", 5'6", a lot shorter.
I went into freshman year of high school, I think 5'0".
Exactly right.
Like I was 5'0". I left freshman year 5'11". Oh man, that was a painful year. Not only for me, but for my parents' wallets. Ooh. It was not that good. But anyway.
But we see. But like from our experience, right? We were there all 4 years. I seen you grow leaps and bounds with music, and I'm sure you've probably seen the same thing. But Felix, we seen him grow, but he had it the moment we stepped in, and of course it even took off even further.
Well, I mean, the only thing that I could say to that is like you're seeing an end product. You're not seeing the hours of practice, and.
But beyond practice, just the way you conducted yourself. No pun intended.
Wait, you were drumming? Whoa.
That's the big drum, right? That's the big drum. I don't know what to say other than there's just passion.
Passion, for instance,
passion is like
remember the student conducting when he did his junior year with what was it from Shire and Sea? Oh my goodness. Let's say about my perspective. I'm sitting there, I believe I'm playing baritone saxophone. Yep. I saw a whole other Felix, even in that moment. It was like something, I don't know how to describe, magical happened. You were doing all these great conducting.
The whole body.
The whole body.
Involved. It was like the facial expressions, the way like the arms were flowing.
It was almost like
air.
angelic. It was almost like
you were molding the band into something you wanted.
It was beautiful, and we all responded. We all like sucked that in like a sponge, and we played beautiful music. Afterwards, the judge was Ivan Wansley, I think.
I believe it was.
He was probably speechless. He's like, "You're the best conductor we've seen all day. You're the last one."
He literally was like sitting looking at the story, like, "I have nothing to say, young man. I have nothing to say."
But that moment has stuck with me ever since. And but the point of that is,
let me ask you something. Why is that?
Because it was something that I say, hey, this is the guy I admire, and this is the type of leadership skills that I want to possess as well. And I see it right here. This is a peer of mine that has had these leadership qualities and this type of personality and charisma, and this is something that I want to have too, and want to also kind of bring to the band and bring to others too. And of course, it wasn't something that was quite as developed in me, but I was like, man, this is it was just the right thing.
Does that kind of go into, I remember we spoke the other day, you were telling me something about how the whole thing with like getting into music education, you just had this vision of wanting to create something like where you had that experience of like creating music and like being with other people, that you wanted to create that as well for like other like younger kids down the road going into like music education and everything. Would you say like that's part of that? Like,
well, I mean that kind of developed from that overall the band experience between you and Mr. Hart, and everybody had leadership position. I was like, man, I had such a great experience. I'm like, yeah, this is what kind of molded that.
And let me ask both of you guys, because like I said, I had zero intention of continuing with music after like my high school, like senior year. Did you guys, at what point did both of you guys know that you wanted to continue with music? Like, was it right away?
Go ahead.
Alright. I remember for me, even from the beginning band, like was given the clarinet. That was the very first instrument I started on. Wasn't even saxophone just yet. Right. And I just remember it was something different. So back at Claremont Middle School, we had 6 electives to choose from. You had band, chorus, agriculture, art, PE, and I believe there's a technology class. And I remember I had no intentions of doing band when I was mostly 5th grade. What really brought me to that, I guess this is kind of where the path of the precursor was. Claremont Middle's band came over to my elementary school, Cypress Ridge Elementary, right across the street.
Right across the street.
They got all the 5th grade classes, all 4 of us, to go to the pavilion where we would have PE. They sat us down, and there's a band sitting there. I'm just like, what's going on? And it was Mr. Doug Yop, great band director, FBA Hall of Fame band director.
Hall of Fame, I didn't know.
Yep, he's an FBA Hall of Famer, I believe. So he retired, I believe, 10 years ago. It might have been like our senior year he retired. Maybe it was 10 years ago. He moved up to North Carolina recently. But he brought the band over and he played. And I remember hearing this. He was a 7th grader at the time, Joshua Bond.
Oh, Joshua Bond.
He was, and I remember him from elementary school because he went to Cypress Ridge. He was. We had like a sales program where like 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade class were like grouped together. And when I was in 3rd grade, he was in the 5th grade class that was grouped with us. So I had always seen him in the hallway. Like
he was an extremely extraordinary, talented.
Yeah, like natural, like that. He was the definition of just natural talent.
I don't know about his leadership personality, but at talent, he had the talent beyond anybody else.
So he was playing, and I remember I was like, I want to do band. At the time, I was just like, it wasn't really saxophone. Like I didn't realize like saxophone was going to be my thing until like later on. But I mean, I was given clarinet. I remember passing off all 3 beginning band books before the holiday concert. So, because I just wanted to, I wanted to play. I was always going in there before school.
So you want to be good like Josh, this guy, Josh. So that's that was your motivation.
So that was my motivation. It was just like, man, and I remember like it was like the competitive side of me. Like I need to go through this book as fast as possible because I remember when we started doing pass-offs that summer before school started. I think I had gotten to like number 33 or something, but there was another saxophone player. That got up to like 70. I'm like, I've got to beat her. I've got to beat her. And I remember the 2 of us were the band students of the quarter. And then the second quarter, I ended up getting it again. I had passed off all 3 beginning band books at that time. I think at that point I started working at the Rubank Advanced Method books.
Okay.
So those were such a big change from the 3rd book to what those exercises were. Those were hardcore exercises. But
like I say, so in high school, so fast forward, right?
Yeah,
so in high school, was there any particular point, like, sophomore year, junior year, I want to do this, I want to, perform in college?
It was junior year, I remember that. So it was when I auditioned for Allstate. And I had auditioned on bass clarinet because, they don't take there's not a lot of bass clarinets.
That was a smart thing to do.
They didn't take not a lot of bass clarinets audition, but they took 4 for Allstate. So I'm just like, okay, there's a lot of tenor saxophones going for 2 spots. There's not a lot of bass clarinets going for 4 spots.
Yeah.
4 spots. So I auditioned. I remember in my mind telling myself, if I make Allstate, I'm going to major in music. If I don't make Allstate, I'm going to continue with the television production program at Eastridge, which was pretty big. And I was going to be an anchorman.
The anchorman.
And gosh darn it, I made Allstate. I was never an anchorman. But
well, Steve, you never know. You can still pursue that.
But I ended up making Allstate. That was kind of like the decision. Like I'm going to major in music in college, and pursuing music. At first I just wanted to play in the ensembles. I wanted to be in the jazz bands. I wanted to be in the wind ensemble.
Yeah.
I thought that's what being a music major was. I didn't realize it was mostly solo playing. Solo playing, lessons, like you're getting trained to become a solo performer, more so than an ensemble performer. Yeah. So, but just going through that.
But you didn't want to be like a band director or nothing like that.
It was on my mind for a little bit, to be honest. I remember, between my 2 rounds of masters when I was up at the University of Florida versus when I went back to UCF, I originally went back to UCF to do a second bachelor's degree to finish my music education requirements. Found out it would have taken 3 more years to get that done. Like, no, I don't want to do this. So found out it would only have taken 1 more year to finish my master's. I'm like, I'll just do that. I was thinking about getting certification, but when I moved back down here, I started teaching lessons. And that's when I realized, I'm like, I don't want to be a band director. I want to do this. I want to like really mold students, like those students that really, really care to get better and to become better musicians and have, a positive impact on their life outside the band.
Yeah.
So, when that started, after I was done with my master's, I'm like, I can just do this. So.
But I'm curious, so what was it like for you? Like, was there something that you thought about doing in high school? Like, obviously you knew you weren't going to do music, so what was it for you?
What did I think I was going to do after high school?
Yeah.
Okay, so I will take you through 17, 18-year-old Felix's mind. I just wanted to make a lot of money.
I
just wanted to make a lot of money.
That's so funny. Just being straight up.
So at first I'm like, okay, what makes a lot of money? An anesthesiologist.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I had that in my mind. I was telling people, oh yeah, I'm going to become an anesthesiologist. And then I was like, maybe I'll go with orthodontics instead. It's still a lot of money. So I thought about that. Now, it was either late junior or early senior year, I started taking Latin. And it's like, what does it have to do with everything? It has everything to do with everything. Because Latin was a language that I had wanted to learn since I was like 6 years old. And I never had the opportunity to do it. I remember, and like most kids, like you have the opportunity to like learn a language once you're like in middle school or something like that. I really wanted to take Latin because at my school you could either take Spanish, French, or Latin. And I told my parents, oh yeah, when I go into 7th grade next year, I'm going to take Latin. They're like, you're going to take Spanish. I was just like, no, I don't want to.
Did they offer Latin at East Ridge?
Not it.
Oh.
No, I took it, so in high school, I took it through FLVS.
Okay, yeah.
So
like
yeah,
online, right?
Yeah, because I had to take a couple extra credits just to fill everything out, and lo and behold, it turns out that Latin would have met that requirement. So I'm like,
Bingo.
Bingo.
And your parents didn't stop you this time.
Yeah, I did. So like, I remember the summer before, I bought like Idiot's Guide to Latin. Like I started literally with like Idiot's Guide to Latin, and just started teaching myself a couple months beforehand. But it's like, okay, what does this all have to do with being an anesthesiologist, orthodontist, and making a lot of money? Well, in my brilliant mind, I thought, what I'll do is I'll become a classics major at UF. Classics major, you could take 2 tracks. You could take either specialization in ancient civilizations or specialization in Greek and Latin.
Like the language.
The language.
Yeah.
Like, so I opted for the language track because I'm like, okay, I'm going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm going to get my undergrad in something that I just find really, really cool to study. And then that's going to help me whenever I go into like medical school or something. I kept telling myself, I'm like, oh yeah, it's going to help with like medical school and the medical terminology. If I'm going to be honest with myself, I just wanted to study it because I thought it was cool. And I think that making money really honestly took a back seat. And it definitely took a back seat because I had to take pre-calculus 4 times that I could never pass. Like my heart wasn't in it.
Yeah, so you realized some hate this thing.
I just dropped all that and just kept on with like the classics and whatnot. So I thought I was going to become a Latin and Greek teacher. And there's a whole lot more to that, but that's kind of what I saw myself like pivoting to after high school, teaching Latin and Greek.
That's it.
And somehow making a lot of money.
Yeah, for me, it was at some point, maybe even middle school. I had a great middle school experience, like at a school called Robert E. Lee Middle School, which is now College Park Middle School. And then, boom, another thing in East Ridge. So basically, it kind of molded my ideas of becoming a band director. But of course, getting into college a couple years in, I realized, hey, well, this isn't what I want to do. This isn't, some of the things they make you do is not what I want. You see the kind of glamour of being band director, you see the result of it, but you don't see the work that they put into it. I mean, obviously, as a student, you work for it, but the band director is a whole different role, right? They have to deal with parents, have to deal with finances, they have to deal with all the administrative things, they have to deal with, students, unruly students, the whole bit. And of course, they don't get paid a lot either. So I'm like, yeah, no, maybe this ain't for me. And that was when everything changed in New York. We went to New York there, but I would still love to play. I know Steve, obviously plays. I would still love. I have dreams of just still playing the saxophone in a group just for fun, even just playing. It's good. The takeaway for me is the saxophone playing music it made me a more well-rounded person. I met people I know, a lot of people I know for the rest of my life, from high school and in college and beyond, and the people that we encountered in high school, such as you and Steve, other people have had a big influence on my personal life to some extent. Your leadership skills, yours too. You're playing. You made me want to get better because I'm like, okay, well, after Felix is gone, I gotta make sure Steve doesn't knock me off the top. And which almost happened here and there, you know. But like for instance, you know, like the like the senior awards. So I remember how he introduced it. He's like, okay, so you know, it was best sophomore, best freshman, best sophomore, best junior, best senior. When he gets up to the senior, like, and he was telling, like, when he's about to give the award, he's saying the last person at this award is Felix Rosado. That's a pretty high thing, you know. He's telling like a couple of different people, a couple of prior seniors that had the award, and there wasn't a lot of seniors, and there wasn't a lot of people left to get the award. You know, other seniors had like best jazz band, best jazz band student, best wind ensemble student, so on and so forth. So I'm thinking, okay, so they're gonna be Steve. He called it for me. Yeah, man, he called it for me. And I'm like, what's gonna happen to Steve? Oh boy!
Oh, there was one more award to be awarded.
He made up.
Oh wait, there's more.
He just made up an award. I was so happy for Steve though, because of course Steve was stellar in our senior year. He was more. He developed a bit more charisma and that kind of thing. And so it was called the best senior. Oh no, the
best all around bandsman.
The best overall bandsman award, and you got it. And I was happy for you.
And then he just continued it the year after. And then he just continued it the year after. I retired that. It is no more.
That's what made you special.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow. Like you create, like you don't just like break through, you create your own category.
Yeah. Just like when you won the drum major award, the first and only drum major to ever won your own award, at least at East Ridge, and in front of a whole bunch of different bands that were extremely talented, and drum majors that were also extremely talented, had gone to leadership camps like we did. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, wasn't that at the FSU leadership camp? You had like won like the best drum major at that.
Oh, you did too at FSU?
Yeah, I did. You're right.
Oh, yeah.
Because you went.
I was with you with like Becky, who was our band president at the time.
Yeah.
And Jack, who was our percussion captain.
Right, Jack was there as well.
So you won the award there, and then you won a separate award during the marching band competition for best drum major.
It was at Santa Fe.
No, it was at Tarpon Springs.
It was at Tarpon
Tarpon
Springs? Oh yeah.
Wow. You have way better memory than I do, but I do remember that now that you mentioned it.
Now another thing that I thought was something that I think everybody admired, right? You had in jazz band 2 consecutive years of being the saxophone or being the band soloist, and they were beautiful solos. Beautiful. Now they were written out, but still the way you played them was so beautiful.
Around midnight, especially.
But so you had around midnight. That's okay. But they were beautiful, regardless of that. They're beautiful, but also I think that one that had even more impact was a solo for full count. That solo was tough and it was fast, and you nailed it.
Yeah,
you nailed it.
Yeah.
I
still have a little bit of the
muscle memory. Yeah, that was because I remember I played it a couple times. That was a tough one.
Yeah, it was what was that gentleman? Who was it?
Gene Hahn.
Gene Hahn.
You wrote it. Walt Disney World musician with Scott Devlin.
Yeah.
Man, I remember him because he wrote. He would come in and like help us with all the solo stuff. So he came up with like really good stuff.
Yeah, it sounded really good.
That was a tough one, but that was a beautiful one. It really sounded like authentically jazz, even though like it was still written. It sounded kind of like it was improv.
It had an improv feel to it, even though it was like written out.
Yeah, it was really good. And then of course in college, me and Steve did jazz band ensemble. No solos written out. So I remember the first time I played in jazz band twice in college. The first time was on Barry sax, and I played a Selmer Mark 6. Remember the Selmer? Yeah. Beautiful instrument. And the director, his name is Perry Danielson, still there. Great guy, great educator. A couple of days before the concert, who's going to play the solo? All right, you play the solo. So I get up on stage. You just basically play whatever you want. Yeah, that's how solo works. But like it wasn't like, oh no, you can't do that. No, whatever you do, what you do at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And so I played like a solo, one solo. I think I remember having at least one on various saxophones. So that was interesting. That was a good experience having that and having that education as a music student at UCF. Mm-hmm. But I wish in high school, like you guys went to leadership. I didn't go to leadership camps, I barely had any support in high school for being in the band program. I did it solely because it was my ambition and my desire that I was there. My parents didn't really care. My dad was like on a whole other planet. He didn't really care at all. My grandma didn't really care. My grandpa did, and he supported me. You know, so I didn't have the support of my parents hardly. My grandpa was really the only guy really that supported and supported me getting into college too with music. Now I started playing saxophone in 7th grade. My mom supported me when I lived with her. My mom was very supportive of that. But by the time I was in high school, I wasn't living with her. My mom and dad separated, got divorced. I was living with my dad. So, you know, he was. So basically, all of a sudden, I lived with my dad early on. Lived with my mom for 2 years. Back with my dad. I went from playing no instruments. All of a sudden, I'm playing the saxophone. So he's probably like, "What the heck is this?" Like, yeah, you're right. You know,
what is this monstrosity?
Well, yeah, he joked one day because it was kind of annoying going. I'll tell you 2 quick stories here. There was one day. He had to like most of the time like my grandpa would take me to like before I could drive, take me to band rehearsal, like the 6 o'clock one to 6. And I remember one day the gate was locked and we were waiting there for 20-30 minutes. He was like, you know, I don't know, cursing me out. Oh, this is the last time I'm taking you to this guy's to show up early. I can't believe this. Well, you know, chewing me out, you know, over this stuff. And then another time, I was playing the tenor saxophone. He does this shit to me. I couldn't believe it. I'm still laughing about it. You know, I was probably in 10th, 11th grade, and, you know, he would not usually give me compliments, and I thought what he said was a compliment, but this joker, I tell you, he's like, hey, son, hey, Nick. I'm like, yeah. He's like, hey, I like it when you play tenor. I was like, oh, thanks. He's like, yeah, 10 or 12 miles away from here.
Yikes.
I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, wow. I was like, man,
that was your dad?
That was my dad, bro. He scored
Dad joke for the win.
Yeah, no, dad joke for the win. I was like, oh my gosh, you had me feeling good for a second, and then you just demolished me.
You're 12 miles from here.
That's
I still remember that joke this time. I'm like, oh my gosh.
She's like, thanks, Dad.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't know if your voice was that high pitched back then, but probably not.
But you know, my whole thing was, you know, I was the underdog in everything. I had to, and I didn't have, and nobody was like, you know, I started in 11th grade, 10th to 11th grade, taking music lessons, which taught me a lot. But, you know, basically my family, it's so important in your family to have family support no matter what you do. No matter if it's, you know, music, sports, whatever you want to pursue, it's important to have that support in your family. And I had very little of it. You know, in fact, like I said, my dad was shooting me out most of the time. My grandma was kind of indifferent. Grandpa did it, but he was limited on money and funds and there's certain things to do. So basically, like, you have a kid, which is me, trying to teach myself how to be a leader, trying to teach myself how to be the best, and trying to teach myself how to have charisma. You can't, you know, you have to see these things come from your family and come from your parents, and it has to be fostered at home. I think you guys had more than I had. I know it wasn't perfect. Certainly, everybody had things, but I was on an uphill battle here.
So I'll share something with you then as far as like my leadership experience. I did not receive the level of support in my leadership, particularly becoming a drum major, as you probably would have thought. Yeah, like I received a lot of resistance from people who knew me, and
in your family. Is that?
Okay, yeah. If you want to get specific, yeah. I was just gonna kind of keep it general, but more so like. So people that knew me really did not want me to become a drum major at all. They're like, you're such a good saxophone player. Why would you ever become a drum major? Like, you need to be out there on the field. You're junior, and especially your senior year, you need to be out there on the field. And you know, we need to see you marching. I was like, yeah, but I could be doing this instead, and I could actually be serving the band in such a greater capacity. But like, that vision was like completely lost on those who shared that opinion. So like when it came to really me developing my conducting capabilities and having the confidence within myself, that kind of was something that was all self-generated in a sense. I mean, you know, I had a couple people here and there that would give me pointers and tips, whether it was at a clinic or something like that.
But I'm saying, at least you had the opportunity to go to these clinics. Leadership clinics.
It was mandatory.
I know, but the thing is, I was a section leader. I never went to the clinics.
But section leaders never had to go to clinics for.
Yeah.
You know
It
what
was
I'm saying?
only for the drum major, the band president.
Yeah, it was,
Like,
only,
if
it was
I-
only for us. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, really the drum major.
But still, you still went. Like, it would have been uphill battle for me to go, even at that time. Like, you know, my parents weren't economically very well off at all, so that was another thing too. You know, like, at least you guys had the means to do that. I would have been, who knows? I mean, I don't. You guys had that. I didn't have that, and I'm not trying to like play the victim card here or anything like that. It's just I looked up to you guys because I knew you guys had things that I didn't have. I just didn't have access to. So, you know, as much as I wanted to be better, not better than you, but as good as I admired what you guys had, because I was also looking to you guys for those things as well, because I didn't have them. The only place I can get it from was from people I knew, and it was you guys. So, and I want to thank you, because you may not know that, how in high school, you may have been doing those things because you want to do them, but you impacted other people like me, because I seen those leadership qualities that you came back with and that you naturally developed over time. Even to this day, there's some things I remember that you did, some of your leadership skills I've learned from, that have kind of molded me a little bit. This is not hyperbole, nothing like that. Oh, I'm serious. Like, it had a profound effect on me. And I know, Steve, same thing, right? You were woodwind captain.
Woodwind captain, yep, senior year.
Yeah, so you guys went to leadership camp, right?
I didn't go. The drum majors were the only ones that were required to go, and I believe the two drum majors that were there the year I was woodwind captain, they didn't go to the FSU summer camp, but they went to another leadership camp. But they did go to a leadership camp.
Oh, okay, so you went even though it wasn't required.
No, I went the year before.
Oh, the year before that. Okay,
So I went the year before with you all when it was at FSU.
Oh, okay.
But I did not go to a leadership camp between junior and senior. It was between sophomore and junior year. So, and that was a good experience. I learned a whole lot, you know, because it was, you know, not just drum majors at this camp. It was people that, you know, they were in leadership positions in their school. There's even individuals at that camp that weren't in leadership positions.
Yeah, they just wanted to attend.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I remember meeting some people at that camp that we ended up going to UCF together.
Okay, yeah.
I remember, you know, one in particular when we were doing the reading session. Like the one day we got to use our instruments.
Mm-hmm.
I was sitting, you know, with some of the other tenor sax players, and the one I was sitting next to ended up knowing throughout UCF. He was a Find Me Alpha brother, which was the fraternity we were in.
Nice. Okay.
Jim McConaughey. Yeah.
Oh, Jim.
Yeah, I sat next
kidding.
to him. I sat next to him at the camp. Jonathan Treadway was at that same camp as well. He was in our skit group.
Really?
Jonathan Treadway, trombone player.
Yeah, you don't know him, but
okay.
he was in Find Me Alpha with myself and Nick.
Beautiful.
But he was one of the ones that was, you know, when we were doing the spell out for the Wheel of Fortune type deal, and like there was three of us. It was me, one other person, and then Treadway that was like going like,
dude,
oh.
you have the memory
I know.
of an elephant.
Of a camera, like going back and just seeing stuff like photographic.
It's great. Like you, whenever you say these things, I feel like I'm starting to just like dig out like all the lost files, like all the pieces. Seriously, like where did
all the deleted files from the computer. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. He's so specific. I mean,
very specific with like the details too. Like that's incredible.
Yeah.
They're core memories.
Yeah.
Like inside out.
Well, thank God you have them.
You got a lot of core memories.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, you know, going to the camp, I met a lot of people that I ended up, you know, going to school with. So, back at UCF. But I mean, I even learned a whole lot at the camp, you know, that I could use because that was the year I was section leader. I'm like, I want to know how to be an effective leader. And because I knew going into that position, I knew I wasn't going to have the support from at least 30 or 40% of the section. Because I had taken the section leader position from the person that had it the year before. And like I knew I wasn't going to have the support from that individual and, you know, some of the other individuals in that section. So I wanted to go there with the mindset of what do I need to do to gain their respect and have them be on my side rather than against me.
Question, was the person who had the position prior to, were they still there? Or
they were still there. They were
okay.
They were still there for a couple more years.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up because it's been a good time. But
oh man, we just got started. What are we talking about?
But we'll have another discussion. We'll continue this discussion in another episode, I guess.
For another day.
Another day.
Sounds good.
Man, it brings back a lot of memories.
Oh man.
A lot of good core memories.
Mm-hmm.
Good talking to you guys as
Yeah,
always.
Yeah. So, man, fantastic. Keep up the good work.
No promises.
It was a good one. That was a good one.
Cue the ending music. The credits roll.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I learned some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was good. I feel like that was a good conversation.
Yeah.